Good morning students. So this is class 11th physics and today we'll be starting the new chapter number 7, which is system of particles and rotational motion. So this is the lecture number 1 of chapter number 7. Okay, so up till now we were studying about point objects, that is we were considering the objects whose mass is very small or you can say negligible. Okay, for all the objects that we come in contact with daily life have a finite mass because they have a finite size. So therefore from today we'll be studying about those, and we are supposing the particles or bodies to be rigid body, that is a body which has a definite size and shape. Okay, so see, if a body has a definite size and shape, then that means on application of force on it, distance between the particles does not change. Okay, so if a body is there, if you apply a force on it, but if the distance between its particle is not changing, then that body can be said to be a rigid body because that means it has a definite size and shape. Okay, so now to describe the motion of rigid body, we talk about center of mass. Okay, so center of mass required to study the motion of rigid bodies, and it is defined as a point at which the whole mass of the body is supposed to be concentrated. That is, we consider a point and we consider that at that point the whole mass of the body is present. Okay, so that point is called center of mass. Now, total mass of body may or may not be present at center of mass. That is, it is not necessary that whole mass must be present there. We are just considering it. So total mass may be or may not be present at center of mass, and you will see that there are some cases in which center of mass is that point where no mass of the body is there, but still that point is considered to be center of mass. Okay, so now let us calculate an expression for the center of mass of a two particle system. So we will be calculating the position vector of center of mass. Okay, so for that, suppose this is your body A and this is your body B. It has mass m1 and it has mass m2. Now, if I am considering O to be origin, you know this will be the position vector, that is a vector drawn from the origin to the particle. So this is your position vector R1 for A and this is your position vector R2 for B. Okay, now let us apply a small force F1 on A and F2 on B. Okay, so this is the applied force on A and B. Now as you know, there will be some internal force between them. So let us suppose F12 is the force on body A due to B and F21 will be the force on B due to A. Okay, so these are the applied forces and these are the forces on the body due to each other. Okay, so from now Newton's second law, you know F is dP by dt and linear momentum is mv. So I am taking m2 outside, that will give you dv by dt. Again, V, as you know, is written by dx by dt, or here I am taking dr by dt because we are denoting position vectors by r. So if V can be written as dr by dt, now this term can be written as this term. See, it will be d square upon dt square. That is, see, d by dt is single differentiation and d square by dt square is double differentiation. So F can be written as m d square r by dt square, that is double differentiation of r with respect to t. Now if I write this equation in for A and B, now for A there are two forces, F1 which is applied force and F12 which is due to B. So total force on A is F12 plus F1 is equals to m1 d square r1 by dt square. Mark it second equation. This is your first equation because similarly, for particle B, there are two forces on it, that is F21 plus F2 is equals to M2 d square R2 upon dt square. Okay, now from Newton's third law, you know action and reaction are always equal and opposite. That is F12 will be equal to minus of F21. So if I add equation 2 and 3, this term will cancel out. So you will be left only with F1 plus F2 is equals to m1 d square r1 by dt square plus m2 d square r2 by dt square. Okay, now let us write f1 plus f2 collectively as f. Okay, And from here I am taking d square by dt square to be common. So if you take d square by dt square to be common, you would be left with m1 r1 plus m2 r2. Okay, because when you will solve it, you will get this thing only. Okay, so now let us divide this divide and multiply this equation by m1 plus m2. Okay, so now f is equals to, I am multiplying this equation by m1 plus m2 and I am dividing this equation by m1 plus m2. Now understand this carefully, because m1 plus m2 is a constant. So it will come outside of differentiation. So it does not matter if you write it inside or outside. Therefore, I am multiplying in outside and I am dividing in inside. Okay, differentiation, in inside differentiation. Now, mark it fourth equation. See, we are writing f equal to, we are writing f1 plus f2 to be f. That is, f is collectively written for body A and B. Therefore, if I write general term for f using this one, so that will be small f is equals to, instead of m, we will be having both the bodies, that is m1 plus m2, and I am denoting the r for both the bodies to be capital R. So this will be nothing but center of mass, because at this point both the mass of the bodies is supposed to be concentrated. Okay, so this is the general form for small f, that is m1 plus m2 d square capital R by dt square. Now compare 4 and 5. You will get position vector of center of mass from here. See, instead of R we have this term. So that means the position vector of center of mass is m1 r1 plus m2 r2 upon m1 plus m2. Okay, so this is the position vector of center of mass. I will be giving you some examples how to calculate it. Before that, let me tell you one thing, that position of center of mass is independent of choice of coordinate system. That is, to calculate center of mass in various questions, you can choose any coordinate system, or I may say you can choose any point to be origin. That is completely independent of it. Whichever you choose to be origin, you will get the same answer for the position vector of center of mass. Okay, so position of center of mass is independent of the choice of origin. For example, look at this question. There are two bodies m1 and m2 which are separated by a distance a. You are asked to calculate the position of center of mass. Now, as I told you, position of center of mass is independent of origin, and the easiest way to calculate center of mass is that you choose origin to be at any mass only. That is, I am considering this point to be origin where one mass is located. This will become very easy to calculate. Okay, so now as you know, formula of position of center of mass is m1 r1 plus m2 r2 upon m1 plus m2. Now can you tell me what will be r1 here? See, this is located at 0 0, therefore its coordinate will be a0. So for here you can say r1 for m1 is 0 and r2 for m2 is a, because see, we are talking about x-axis. You can write here m1 x1 plus m2 x2 upon m1 plus m2 also, because we have only one axis here, x-axis. Okay, so r1 is 0 for m1 and r2 is a for m2. So just put in the formula r1 to be 0, m2 a upon m1 plus m2. Now suppose if in this question it was given m1 is equals to m2, that is if both the masses are same. So if you put m1 equal to m2, you will get m2a upon 2m2. m2 will cancel out, so you will get a by 2. That means center of mass of two bodies of equal mass is exactly in between the masses, that is this point, right? So this was how to calculate center of mass of two bodies. Now let us take an example of three bodies. Now look here. Okay, now there are three bodies m1, m2 and m3. Okay, now you have to, and they are located at the ends of a equilateral triangle of side A. Okay, now again you are asked to calculate center of mass for this system of particles. Okay, so see, there is no difference in the formula. For two particles, you were writing m1 r1 plus m2 r2 upon m1 plus m2. Similarly, for three particles, it will become m1 r1 plus m2 r2 plus m3 r3 upon m1 plus m2 plus r3. Similarly, if you have 4 masses or 5 masses. Okay. Now, as I told you, it is easier if you suppose origin to be present at one mass only. So here I am supposing origin at this point, that is at M2. Okay, so now locate all the points. If this is 0, 0, this will be on x-axis, that is this will be A, 0. And this will be, see, this point will be A by 2. So this will be A by 2. Sorry, x-axis will be A by 2. Okay, this will be A by 2. So that is x-axis is A by 2. And if you calculate y-axis by Pythagoras theorem, you will get this distance to be root 3a by 2. So these are the coordinates of all the particles. I hope it is clear. Now we can easily calculate center of mass. But remember one thing, here we have both the x-axis as well as y-axis. So we will be calculating center of mass in x-axis as well as in y-axis. So let me calculate first of all Rx, that is position of center of mass in x-axis. Okay, so that will be m1 x1. m1 x1 is a by 2 plus m2 x2 is 0 plus m3 x3 is a upon m1 plus m2 plus m3. So you will get this. So this is for x, and for y-axis again m1 y1, that is this is y1 root 3a by 2 plus m2 y2 is 0 plus m3 y3 is again 0 upon m1 plus m2 plus m3. So Ry will come to be root 3a m1 upon 2 m1 plus m2 plus m3. So collectively position of center of mass will be Rx I cap plus Ry j cap. You can put the value of Rx and Ry. Okay. So this is how we have to calculate center of mass of a system of particles. Now let me tell you some important points about center of mass. Suppose if center of mass is lying at origin, that means the coordinates of center of mass will become 0. So therefore from the formula m1r1 plus m2r2 upon m1 plus m2, this will be 0. Or you can write from here m2r2 will come to be minus m1r1, because again this will be cross multiplied, it will become 0. So from here if I calculate r2, that will be minus m1 upon m2 into r1. Okay. So what we can conclude from here, see, if I suppose m1 is greater than m2, then which one would be greater? Obviously r2 will be greater than r1. So that means if m1 is greater than m2, then r2 is coming to be greater than r1. So this is what this means, that is center of mass is lying closer to the heavier mass. See, m1 is heavy because it is greater and r1 is less, that is center of mass is close to heavier mass. So always remember, if you have two bodies of suppose 2 kilogram mass and 10 kilogram mass, and you are asked to calculate center of mass, then directly you can say that center of mass will lie near 10 kilogram mass. Okay, so it lies near heavier mass. Second important point about center of mass is that velocity of center of mass remains constant when total external force on the system is 0. That is, if there are no external forces applied on the system, then velocity of center of mass remains constant. And I have a very good and interesting example about this point. Look here. Suppose this is a bomb and it is thrown from this point by making an angle theta with the horizontal. So as you have studied parabola, it will be going in a parabolic path because this is nothing but an angular projection. Suppose this bomb, which is going like this, at this point it gets exploded in two parts. So at this point it is getting exploded into two parts. One is going in this direction and one is going in this direction. Now if I ask you what will be the position of center of mass, or what will be the path of center of mass, can you tell me now? See, because explosion always occurs due to internal forces. Force leading to explosion are internal forces, and as I told you, if external force on the system is 0, the velocity of center of mass remains same. Therefore, this explosion will not have any effect on the path of center of mass. Even the two particles of the bomb are going in different directions, the center of mass will still follow this parabolic path, because here are only internal forces included in explosion. So you can say center of mass will continue to move along same parabolic path. Okay, so the next is center of mass of a homogeneous body of regular shape. So by homogeneous body we mean that The mass of the body is uniformly distributed. Okay. So for example, rod, disc, sphere, all of these are homogeneous bodies and their center of mass lies at their geometrical center only. For example, if you consider it to be a disc, its center of mass will be lying at its center only. Again, for a rod, for a homogeneous rod, again the center of mass would be lying on its geometrical center only. Okay. Okay, students, so after going through today's lecture, you can do question number 1, 2 and 3 from your NCERT book and properly revise today's lecture as well. Okay, thank you.